Hello, everybody. If you can hear me loud and clear, please type me a message. I welcome you to the second day of our Selenium training. Welcome, everybody. If you can hear me loud and clear, thank you, Blessing. Blessing can hear me loud and clear. Who else? Okay, Joshua can hear me. Anthony. Bola Afolabi, thank you. I have about 25 students here. Okay, good evening. Olaniran, thank you. Okay. Manuel, thank you. Olatubosun, thank you. Obus, thank you. Olaniyi, Kudirat, Olubola, Stella, thank you. Okay, so I will take it that everybody can hear me loud and clear. Or you want me? Thank you very much, everybody. Welcome to the second day. So, because today we have a lot to do, I don't want to waste our time. The reason why NHE, thank you, good evening. Why I've waited for 10 minutes is because I don't want a situation where we'll be in the middle and somebody will come in, you know. I know that we are all busy, like I said, from my own experience as well. Some of us finish work at 7, some finish at 7:30, even some finish at 8. So it's good that we wait for each other sometimes. We learn together. Okay, moving on then, guys. Yesterday was our first class, and we learned about the background information about automation testing, and we learned about Selenium introduction, and we began with our Selenium, our Java lessons. So a lot of us noted between me and you. Okay, noted. That is very fine. But a lot of us, did you personally learn anything yesterday? Give me a reply, please. A lot of us, did you learn anything yesterday? Good. Okay, your point is noted. Very, very well noted. Okay. Right, guys. Yesterday, I like to recap. I like to link, our previous lesson to the next one, because otherwise, some of us didn't actually finish the class yesterday, and some of us, even though we finished, we might have forgot. But recapping will allow us to quickly remember what we learned yesterday. And as I told you yesterday, guys, that naturally I'm a very fast speaker, and then if I speak too fast, please let me know so that I can caution myself and speak slowly for your own understanding. Number 2, if you cannot see my screen at any time, or you cannot hear me, let me also know so we can see what's going on. And then yesterday, our aim was to understand the general concept of software testing automation, and we did. And we also did the number 2. We were introduced to Selenium, and we learned the difference between Selenium IDE and the WebDriver. Our third objective was to understand Java, essential for software testers. We plan to learn 40%, but I will say that we only did 10 to 15% of what we are meant to learn. So today we'll continue learning Java. So yesterday I showed you this screenshot. I told you about the basic concept that we want to understand as a software tester in Java. I talk about the class, I talk about the object, I talk about the method, I talk about the data types, arrays, variables, constructor, decision-making statements, loops, inheritance, polymorphism, annotations, exception handling, and package. But I said that I'm not going to teach you in this order. I don't think I'm going to teach you class, object. In fact, I will not even teach you some of them tonight, because if I teach you in isolation, without a relevant example, it's a waste of time. You will not understand it. But I will come back to all of these subtopics as we come across them throughout the lectures, not just today alone, throughout the Selenium class. So yesterday I already told you what is called a package. A package is a folder, it's a namespace of how you organize your codes. So let's move on, guys. And I will open, and I told you how to install. How many of us install our software, or even try to? How many of us, guys? Very good, blessing. Yes, that's good. Oh, wow. I knew from yesterday that this batch is special. I need to write those names down because I always reward people that I'm not going to give you money because I don't have money. I'm a poor man. But I reward you with more knowledge, impartation, blessing. Oluwasegun. That's impressive. And Olatunbosun. Joshua. And Obus is there. Almost there. Charles. Why? What did you do? Olugbola. That's impressive. Wow. Stella, what happened? Anthony, very good. Charles, okay, that's good then. Juliet, wow. In fact, I will go back to my figures and I will see. Okay, Wahid, okay. Wahid, that's okay. Charles, that's okay as well, you know. Oyewumi tried, okay. Oyewumi. Kudirat. So those people that are not able to do it, but they tried. Okay, Bolao, that's good. Bolao. Okay, Olami, that's good. Well, to be honest, I knew from yesterday the way you guys participated throughout the class. I knew that you guys are special, and I'm not joking about that. Your set is very, very responsive, and I must say that I have changed the approach. The way I teach it, I don't just go straight to the coding. I try to provide background information before going into the coding. So that might also help, and eventually it is because you guys are very, very determined, and that will go a long way in how you're going to be successful as testers. If you keep it up, before you know it, there will be testimonies of many of you after your batch getting jobs. It doesn't matter how much, but what matters is that you become software tester professionals. Because even if you get a job of 30,000, you can always get the next one as 50,000. The important thing is for you to get a job as a professional. So let's move on. Yes, blessing. Whatever you believe will happen to you. I don't know if you are Muslim or Christian or whatever you believe. Both Bible and the Quran say that whatever you believe, shall be given unto you. So, yes, work towards it. It's not impossible. All right. So let's move on quickly. What is Java? We talked about it yesterday. It's a programming language. So I will not waste our time today again over that. And we tested our first code, which is the hello testers, and I talk about the package is a folder in programming, and I talk about each element in our code yesterday. So let me go back to our code from yesterday. I'm going to launch my Eclipse now, and then we'll open our code from yesterday. So yesterday we created a new project, which is Selenium training for March 2019, and we had a source code, and inside the source code we created the Java package, and inside the Java training package we created hello testers. I'm going to launch that again now, and we'll see it. If you remember, yesterday we talked about the first code. When we ran this one, we got 5 in the console, as you can see here, and that could be anything. We can say welcome everybody, and then if I run that again in the console, you will see that there's no longer 5. We now have welcome everybody. So from this list here of what we are learning, the next thing I'm going to teach you guys is variables. This concept, variable. What is a variable? A variable is a container, a storage container, basically. So now we have welcome everybody here. Okay, it's simple to type welcome everybody because welcome everybody is just 2 lines of code. What happens if I want to type something more? What happens if I want to type something dynamic? And then, as an example, I will say, what's the best example? Let me say, okay, let me go back to, let me launch my browser. Guys, please stay with me, 100% attention, please. And if you don't understand anything, begin to fire me with question. I will say Sky News. Okay, and Sky News, I'm just using this as examples, okay? Sky News introduction. Oh, can you see my screen, guys? Good. I'm just checking, okay? I don't need to prove anything here. I just want to give you an example. So Sky News introduction or biography. I'll just copy that details. Try to imagine as a tester, all you have to do, or as a developer, is to introduce Sky News. But instead of you to be typing that details here every time you are writing the code, you see, it's even longer, it's too long. You can't even see it, all of it. So I just copy down from there. Sky News is a British news organization which operates blah blah blah. If I run it now, you are going to see that information in the console. The console here is because we are developing our code. In the real life, when you compile your code, you will see it on your computer screen or on the browser. But because we are developing, this is an IDE, independent or integrated development environment. So you can see all this information is here. But it's a bit difficult for you as a tester or as a developer to be typing and coding this thing here all the time. You can make mistake. Number 2, it's called hard coding because you have to type what you exactly want, and it doesn't make your code neat because you can see that you have to scroll all the way to the left to find the full information. So what you can do instead is that you can come at the top here. At the top here, you will say, in this case, as an example, you will say string, and you will say sky, and you say equals to. You will open the quotation mark and paste that information, and then you close it with a semicolon. So what we've done is that we have, instead of hard coding that code, that particular information, we have created a variable to store that information in a storage container called sky. So how do we know that? Inside the print line now, for you to just see, let me just delete this print line. Everything inside, not the print line itself. I will delete this information. So in the print line, what we have is empty brackets. Okay. In the print line, we have empty brackets. If I run this code now, can somebody tell me what's going to happen if I run this code? Nobody? Anybody trying? If I run this particular code, what do you expect to see? William, thank you very much. Olubola, not quite. Thank you for trying. Charles, thank you for trying, but not quite. William is perfect. Blessing is perfect. Joshua is perfect. Olatubosu is perfect. So basically, I am not, when I say print, I'm not printing. There's nothing in this. There's nothing here yet. Because I removed that information. If I run it, see, nothing will appear. Nothing should show. See, look at this console. There's nothing. But if I want to show something, if I want to show the information about sky, what will I do? Instead of empty, what should I do? Should I type everything again? Olani, God bless you. Thank you very much. All of you, God bless you. All of you. Yes, I mean that. Josephine, thank you as well. Tahid, wonderful. Very good. A blessing. Good. William, good. Afolabi, good. Yes, Obus, thank you. This is interesting. All of you, those of you who have not even contributed, don't worry. We are all learning. The fact that they know one thing or two things before you doesn't mean that they will know, they will become a tester before you. Trust me. But it is good that they are contributing. He encouraged me about the kind of class I am teaching. So basically, the whole point of variable, as I divided it at the beginning, if you remember, I said that a variable is a storage container. So instead of me to be hard coding that Sky News details in this print line, instead I stored that information into a variable called Sky. And because it's inside the variable called Sky, I don't have to print the content. All I have to do is to type this variable name called Sky inside the print line. If I type Sky here, guys, what will happen if I run it is that it will display everything inside that container. Well done for all of you that got it right. So creating a variable, avoid hard coding. It avoid mistake. It avoid repetition. Imagine if along the line in my code, I have to print this information like 10 times. Instead of me to type this whole information 10 times, all I have to do is to type Sky 10 times in wherever I need it. So I have created this variable and I can reuse them. So like I said before, what is a variable? A variable is a storage container. Let's go to my slide and let's see the definition there. Well, it's not going to be different from what I'm saying because I don't define things that you cannot relate with. I define them in layman's language that will relate with your understanding. And I will give you an example of what that means. A variable, when I say a variable, is a container. Think about your kitchen, for example. In our kitchen, I don't know about your own kitchen, but my own kitchen, I have a lot of containers. I have a container for my sugar. I have a container for my coffee. I have a container for my tea bags. I have a container for even my rice. Because I don't want to leave them in the bag. I don't want to leave my kitchen untidy. And I have labels. Personally, I'm telling you the facts, not just examples. I have labels on those food items, especially my spices. So if I tell my daughter or my son to go and get me rice, they are very, very unlikely to make mistake because they are not guessing. Even rice is obvious. But when it comes to, I don't know, some of us, maybe we know. When it comes to semolina and pando, or you can easily make mistake, but they are both white. But because there's a label on mine, they will not make mistake. So if a variable is like a container in your kitchen, so to store your data, and those data can be manipulated in your code. And you will see that tomorrow when we start to learn about our Selenium WebDriver. Because tonight, even if we have to stay late or finish earlier, I don't know what's going to happen. We are going to finish our Java basic overview. And then we are going to start tomorrow. When we come tomorrow, we are starting from our Selenium WebDriver. And we're actually going to begin to be writing our test cases. And we're going to begin to stimulate real user action on a web browser from tomorrow. So, for you to declare a variable, you need to declare Christiana, I saw your message, but I'm gonna say something about that. I will give you what you want, but the actual time for me to do it is a different thing entirely. But don't worry, I'll come back to that. Okay, Christiana, guys. So for you to declare a variable, the first thing you need to do is to declare the data type of that variable. So for example, if you go back to this code now, the first thing I did, I typed string. Okay, I typed string, and then that's the data type of string. And then the second thing that I did was to give that variable a name plus a variable name. The name of that variable is called sky. And then I assign a value to my variable. If you don't assign a value, you will get a default value, which I'm going to come to in a minute, okay? So, and anytime you want to use that variable, which is called initializing that variable, you call it by its name. For example, when I wanted to use that information in that bucket, what did I do? I came into my sky. I called it by sky. If I call it by skies, it's not going to work. Let me put S after that. There's going to be an error when I'm running it. Okay? I have to call it exactly by the name. So, let's say that is the name of the variable that we use. Say we want to create another variable. But this time around, we want to create which year are we? For example, what year are we? So the year we are is 2019. What kind of variable is 2019? Is it a string or a boolean? Olani is firing down tonight. That's good. Yes, I've got one from how many people? How many students? Let me see again. From 29. I've got one right. Olani Josephine got it wrong. Obuz got it right. Sahid got it wrong. William is doubting, but it's right. Juliet is wrong. Okay, without wasting time, because when I see the time now, I'm beginning to be scared. Because I don't want to spend more than 10 o'clock, to be honest with you guys. It's not string here, but what is it, Wahid? Anyway, so if I want to store a number, let's say I put a string here, string, and I say year, and I say equals to 2019, I will get an error. Why am I getting this error? This error is saying, let's see what it's saying. Type mismatch. cannot convert from int to string. So it means that this kind of value is called what? It's called int, not string. They are all numbers, and which is our next topic. I'm going to teach you that in the next topic. So if you want to declare numbers, the best thing to do with numbers is to call them int. So what am I trying to bring out from these scenarios? And now if I call it, let me call that particular, I want to print that too. So guys, if I say Ctrl V, what am I going to put here, guys? Somebody should help me. Only one person, I'll be okay. Thank you, Blessing. Thank you, Lani. Thank you. That was so quick. Oh my God, that's 7. Thank you very much. So I like that. I'm so. Those of you who cannot contribute at the moment, you have no problem. Trust me. Kudrat, you tried. Well, thank you for trying, but you don't call your variables by the data type. You call them by their name. Their name is after the data type, which is year. So we could put year. We will put year in this box here, and we run it. It will answer us, and to print on the console. It will print sky on the first line, and it will print 2019 on the second line. So far now, me and you, we all knew about string and int. But before I go there, I'm going to tell you one more thing about variables. So variables, as you see, they can have local variables, and they can be global variables, or what we call instance variable. What do they mean? Normally, and I remember very well my last class, I didn't teach this one at this stage. It's not difficult, but it's good to have a relevant example. But I'm going to teach you now before you forget. And please, guys, I'm going to ask you this tomorrow. I'm going to ask you this on Friday, because it is very, very relevant to our testing of our software. So if you remember yesterday, I told you about this curly braces here. I said this curly braces from here to here belong to the class level, and this one here belong to the what's it called, the method. This one here is method. This one here is a class. So what does that mean? So it means that anything that I declare here inside this particular variable here cannot be used inside the class level. But anything I declare inside the class can be used in any variable. And I will give you a relevant example. Remember for now that I said that there are 2 types of variables, okay? And there's one that we call local variables, and there's one that we call global variable, okay? And I will give you the example. So please remember that when we get to that stage. So what we should learn instead is the data types. In Java, we have 2 kinds of data types. We have what we call the primitive data type. If you look at the English language of primitive, it means very, very, very simple, uncomplicated data type. So we have 8 of those, and already from those we have treated int and string. Well, string is not a local data type, so it's not a primitive one. So let me say I'll come back here, okay, and I will what I'm going to do, I'm going to comment these 2 lines of code. What does that mean? Comment means that, see, at the moment when I run these codes, the 2 lines are coming out. But comment means that I'm telling Java runtime to ignore a particular line of code. So like this two forward slash here, Java will ignore this line here. So if I put 2 forward slash in front of the string, for example, 2 forward slash, and I run it, you won't see the sky information anymore. It becomes green. Okay. The reason why it's like that is because I'm still using the variable. If I remove the variable name and I run it, it will be fine. So So all we see now is 2019 alone. And if I go ahead and say comment this one too, and I remove the name of the variable, it will not run any code because I've commented them out. This is what we call commenting. So it's just a comment. It's no longer a code. So I will call this particular one inline commenting. So variables, not variables, data types. There are two types. Did you get your videos yesterday, guys? Okay, that's good. Did you get the PowerPoint and the code? The PowerPoint is attached. Good. That's good. That's very good. So because every night when we finish the lecture, I copy the code. So the point why I'm saying that is that don't be scared of this code. I'm going to copy everything that we do tonight, and I will attach it in a Word document or in just text document, and I'll attach it into the drive, and WJ will send it to you guys. Okay, don't worry about it. Everything I'm typing here, you will get it. There are two types of data types. There are two data types. There are two data types. Okay. Number one is the primitives, and the primitives, there are 8. Okay. Number one from the primitive, as we have known, is the int. Okay. So the int is for all numbers. Okay. And that all numbers is not just any all numbers. It doesn't mean that you can write 1 trillion or 1 billion of numbers, because it has a limit. The int is the second biggest in the whole number category. It can store up to what we call 32 bits. The 32 bits is size. All these things you don't have to know in details, to be honest. But who knows? When you are doing because when you go for some interview, they give you practical situation. They give you scenarios, and they say, okay, based on this information, try to develop, the test idea, or the test environment, or the test framework. So int is a whole number. That's how you have to. If you can't remember 32 bits, forget about it. The most important one is to remember that it's a whole number. So, for example, if you want to declare int, you say int. We can say my int equals to, let's say, 200. Okay. And then the other one is what we call the short. The short also is for all numbers. But the difference between int and short is that the short can only take 16 bits. You say short, my short equals to 200 as well for now. And then number 3, primitive. Okay, number 3. I need to put number 3. Actually it's short, not short, has gone. Okay, you can see that if I make a mistake of short, if I put D here, the driver is not going to recognize it. It's a keyword. It has to be purple. They are predefined. So the third one is what we call the long. And the long also is for all numbers. Guys, all these things will make sense to you, because right now I might be speaking Spanish to some people, but no te preocupes, guys. You'll be fine if you think it's Spanish. And then Hakuna Matata. Okay, everything's gonna be okay. So the long is 64 bits, and if you say long, my long, you have to be together, my long, otherwise it will become a keyword equals to say 2000. So the idea and the difference between these three guys here, actually there are four. Let me just put the fourth one before I begin to explain the difference between long and short. Okay. Number 4 primitive is the byte. It's also whole number as well, but it's the smallest size of the whole number. It's 8 bits. So let's say byte, my byte equals to 2000. Let's see what's going to happen with that. So when I put byte 2000, it's this, even though it's whole number, yes, okay, 20,000, yeah, that's fine. That's the whole point I'm trying to make. So let's say that it's a whole number. Why is it showing red? It's because the size is too big. As I said it here at the top here, I said that my byte can only save 8 bits. That is the capacity it can save. Yeah. Jamie is asking a question. I will tell you. I will explain that. Okay. Give me 1 sec. Let me explain this concept of bytes or bits. It's bits. It's not bytes. So basically, this number here is invalid. You cannot convert from int to byte. Why? Because this is too big. It's bigger than 8 bits. So if I remove maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, see, this guy his capacity is able to store just 2. When I make it 20, it's still okay. It's fine. When I make it maybe 200, the guy cannot take 200. Let's try and make it 199. The guy still can't make it. 19, the guy is okay. So the guy capacity is just for 8 bits only. And the long is 64. It can take a lot of numbers. As you can see, there are plenties of 0. In fact, maybe that's millions or trillions. You can take it. But if you try it with the short also has its own limit. You can see the short is also, so it depends on what you are storing. If you are storing data that is heavy, you use the long. If you are storing data that is moderate, you use the int. And if it's the, depending on how big your numbers are. Okay? I hope that is clear. Jamie asked a question tonight. He said, why did I have what's it called? Why did I have the name of the variables? The first ones are small letter, and the second one are capital letter. In programming language generally, not just Java, there's something we call camel casing. It's a convention. So basically, what we are trying to do with that is that we are differentiating our what's it called? Our first word from the second word. If anybody has seen a picture of a camel, the camel at the beginning the head is lower, but it has a back that is bigger, and then the back also went down a bit, and then at the end it's bigger. It's called, you can look it up on Google. It's camel casing. So in programming, every programming language you go through, we use this camel casing. So once you see this word, you know that this my is a different word on its own, and this int is a different word on its own. So every new word, apart from the first one, starts with a capital letter. So let's say I want to say yes, that is it. If you have 3 words, my int example, for example, so I'll say my int example. Yeah, this is camel casing. So you will know that these words is one together, but it's 3 different words joined together for one name. Okay, so that's what we call camel casing in programming. Otherwise, if I just write my int, you might think it's a different language from heaven that you don't know. Nothing is wrong with it. It will go through, but the best conversion is to separate them as two different words. Okay, and all these data types you can call them in your code. For example, you can come here and say my int. If you say my int, and if you run it, you will get 200 on screen. The second line, if you go there and say my short, okay, you will get it on the screen as well. If you go on and say my long, you will get it on the screen. What you can't do is that you can't make a mistake. You cannot, for example, this is my is a small letter, and then short is a capital letter. If you put my as capital letter, you will get an error. Why? Because like I said yesterday, that Java has its own particular style and syntax. It will not forgive you. Every word must be the same. Every casing must be the same. Java doesn't forgive you like C#. If you make a mistake in the casing or in one word, it won't forgive you. It won't assume it. You have to type it word for word. You can also do what we call concatenations. Concatenation means that you can print them together in one line. So instead of going through my line, you can just put a plus sign. If you put a plus sign here, and then you say my long. So what you are going to have is you're going to have two codes in one line, and that's what we call concatenation in programming. So firstly, you printed the 2 million, and then you printed the 200. So concatenation will not give space in between. If you want to give a space, you have to concatenate a space. So basically, you will put an empty quotation mark, and then you put another concatenation here. If I run this one now, what you're going to have is that you're going to have the 200 first, and you're going to have the 2 million second. You see, it printed my int and it printed my long, and it left a space in between. Okay, guys, so far, right? So I said that we have 8 primitive data type. So far we've talked about 4. The whole numbers, long, short, and bytes. We also have what we call the double. So what is a double? Because, for example, these are whole numbers. Let's say you want to print something like a double is a floating point number. So you want to print let's say you want to print floating point number. And a double can store up to 64. A double is the biggest one in its own lineage. 64 bits. Okay. So let's say you want to print my double. My double equals to what? You want to print 10.0 or 10.10. Hold on my screen, okay? 10.10. Okay. The double will allow you to print 10.10. If you come back here to my byte, for example, or to my int, and you put 200.10, you are going to get an error because int can only store a whole number. If you look at the error, you say cannot convert double to int. You can't convert double to int. It's not double. This guy is just a single number. But the double will allow you to store numbers in decimal or in floating points. So that is double. And then we also have in its own lineage we have what we call the float. That's number 6. So what is a float? A float is also a floating number, point number, but the bit storage capacity is 32 bits. It cannot store as much as the float. Plus, the way you declare the float is different because the float is more accurate. Float, my float. So look at my float now. If I say the same thing, I say 10.10, I think I'm going to get an error. And why? Because I haven't followed the convention of Java on how to declare a float. You cannot convert double to float. A float is a float, a double is a double. For a float, you have to put an F at the end of it. So when I put an F now, you can see that the error disappeared. So the difference between a double and a float is that at the end of the double, you don't need to put anything. But at the end of the float, you have to put an F to indicate that it's a float or an float. And then the number 7 data type is called a Boolean. Boolean, what is a Boolean? It's just either true or false. True or false data type. Okay, it doesn't have what's it called? It doesn't have capacity, because it's either of the two. Either you put true or you put false. So for example, if you come here and say what's it called? Boolean, they are all keywords. My Boolean, and you say equals to true. Okay, that's all you need. Equals to true, and that's it. True is a keyword itself. If you say truth, it's an error because it doesn't know what is that. It can only accept true or false. Okay, so that's what a Boolean does. It's to validate a statement. Either they are true or false. And last but not the least is what we call char or a char. Some people call it char, depending on your accent, you know. So, but in other languages they call it char. So we call it variable character. But here it's a character. And what does a character do? A character is a Unicode data type. So basically, it can accept any symbol, you know, from the keyboard, and it can only take 16 bits of data type. So, for example, you can just put a Y, or if you want to do an emoji, or you want to do a special character like question mark or /. All you have to do is to create, you know, a char. My char equals to, and the difference between the char is that with all these ones is that a char must be stored inside a semicolon, one single quotation mark. If I put single quotation mark and I put question mark, that will be valid for sure. You see, so you can put any character in the char data type, but you must surround that character with a single quotation mark. And all these data types, you can print them out by calling their name, as you have known. You can, if you remove my short now, and you say, what's it called? My Boolean. Okay. So what you're going to have on the screen will not be this 2000 here. What you're going to have is 200, 2 million, and then true. So the same apply for every other data type. So I said that we have primitive and non-primitive. Those are the primitive one. So the primitive ones, the non-primitive one, the most notable one among them, non-primitive, is the non-primitive. The most notable one is okay, Jamie, no problem. The non-primitive one, the one that is the most popular is a string. Okay, and the string stores text. Okay, as you know that we've been using string from our example from yesterday. The hello tester is a string, you know, and the sky is a string. Anything that is test is a string. So the major difference is that when you are declaring a string, the major difference is that you cannot use small letter for a string. If I put a small letter for the string, you see float, boolean, char, double, byte, they are all starting with small letters. But when you do that for a string, it becomes a problem. According to the definition, non-primitive, it is not a common man. It is not a common data type. It is an advanced data type. As a such, it's a class on its own, and every class must start with a capital letter. If I put a string as capital letter now, it becomes normal. It becomes a keyword. As you can see there, that problem disappeared immediately. Okay? And then this string now, if I say string, my name or my string equals to equals to, who can I use as an example tonight? I'm not going to use Jamie tonight. I used Jamie a lot yesterday. So I'm going to use Anthony tonight. So my name is Anthony. So the other thing that you need to notice about the string is that when you declare a string data type, it has to be surrounded by a double quotation mark. So you see, in the char, you use a single character. For the Boolean, you don't need to surround it with anything. For all the numbers, you don't need to surround it with anything. But when it comes to the string, it has to be in double quotation mark. Otherwise, there will be an error. And if I come into my code here and I put my name, if I say my name and I run that code, what I'm going to have is I'm going to have Anthony. I'm going to have true, which is this Boolean here. Guys, I hope so far we understand data types. We have 8 primitive ones. Let me go to the slide again. 8 primitive data types. How they matter, you will find out as we go on. So if you don't declare, for example, when we declared our data types here, when we say my char, we give them values. We give them 10.10, we give them 19, we give them true, we give them question mark, we give them Anthony. If you declare string, because it's possible for you to do that. For example, I can just delete Anthony. If I delete Anthony from here, so what happens is that what it means is that I declare a string, a variable string, and I call it my name, but I didn't give it any value. Okay, so if I try to print that, what's going to happen is that either an error or you print me a null. So there's an error here. I'll just say equals to nothing, null. So if I print that, it will give me just empty. So normally, this is a new conversion. Normally, if you don't put any value there, it will give you the default value set by Java. And what's that default value? For int, the default, if you fail to put a value there, you get 0. For short, you get 0. For long, you get OL. And then for char, you get this guy here. So you get false for Boolean, you get 0 for bytes, okay? So data type is very important, and when you declare them, you assign a value to them, okay? Yeah, null was purple because null is a keyword as well, okay? So that's that about data type. So I've talked about the non-primitive, which is the string, okay? It must begin with a capital letter, and it must be in a double quotation mark. Okay then, so let me leave that for now. So I'm going to comment this guy here out, this my Boolean, because I'm going to the next topic. Oh, okay. Yes, blessing. Okay, let me create another class, okay, so that this is getting longer. So because of that, it will be too messy for you to understand. You can understand it because you are with me, but let's just create another class, okay? Under the Java package, right click, okay, and I click on new, and then go to class, and then call this guy array, okay, and then select the public static void, okay, guys. So the other one we finished working on is just here. You just tap to tap, you switch it. The reason why I created an array is that our next topic is arrays, okay? And then I don't want it to be messed up together. That is why I'm separating it tonight, okay? All right. So I will send you these codes tonight, and I will not send you. I will upload it to WJ, and then WJ will send it to you. Right. So what is an array? But before I go to that array, let me give you a brief background analogy. So here I have a string. Why I'm just trying to show you why would we ever need an array. So a string, my students, okay, my students, that is the name of my string, which is a variable, okay. Now my students equals to what? Equals to Um, Blessing, I'll use Blessing as an example tonight. Okay, Blessing is my student, but Blessing is not my students, because Blessing is just one person. I will say system dot out dot print line, and then I will say my students. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to print the name of my students. But guys, look at the name of my student here. All I can do is print Blessing, because a container, a variable, can only contain one data type. If you are with me, just type hi. If you are with me so far and you are not confused, yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lord Shegun. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Blessing. Thank you, William. Thank you, even if you don't type it, okay? Type. Okay. Okay, Olani. Okay. So the reason why I check is that it's very easy for me, it's very convenient for me to fire down. But then, who am I firing down to, if not for my students? Yes, Kudirat, there are many non-primitive data type, and array is one of them. And you can also create your own. Basically, a array data type is a data type that is a non-primitive is a data that is not predetermined by the system. Somebody, a developer, a group, some friends created it, and they're not just Java language. They are bigger than that. They have their own rules and they have their conditions. Olani, can you shed more light a little bit? I will wait for you. What is the confusion? Okay, Olani, you understand now. Very good. Because already, what I've done is that I've explained to you what is a variable. A variable is a container that help you to store data. Instead of you to be typing the whole data, the length of data inside your code or print line, you would have created a container, and then inside your print line here, you will call the name of that container. But I'm now saying that that container is also limited, because, for example, this is one container that stores the name of, you want to store my student, but you can only put Blessing. If you doubt me, try to put Olani here. Okay, put Olani. Anyway, put Olani. It will work. Olani. If I put Olani here, it will work, because. But then, this is the problem. The problem is that I cannot select between Olani and Blessing. I have to print them together. Okay? I have to print both of them together, because that is the way it is in the bucket. I cannot select what I want from that bucket. That is the limitation of a variable. So let's say, for example, if I say, who the best student so far is if I run this code, this doesn't make sense. If I say the best student so far, it says the best student so far is Blessing and Olani. Why? Because that is the way I can declare them together. I cannot separate them from a variable point of view. If I try to, let's say I remove Olani from here, and I try to say, comma, Olani. What's going to happen is, you can see, it's an error already. If I click on that error, it's telling me that Olani, invalid variable declarator, it can't declare two content or two values inside one variable. So if you can't do that, then what is the solution? The solution is what we call an array. So what is an array? An array is a container of containers. I will put it that way. I'll put it that way in a very layman language. That is not how Java will declare it. That is not how they will teach you in university. But I'm telling you, in reality, what array does is to store more data. So if I want to declare an array, it's slightly different. So I will say the same thing. No, I will say string. But in this case, because it's an array, I will put a square bracket in front of it. Square brackets. Okay. In this string here, there's no square bracket, and I will now say students. You can't use two variable names. If I put my students, there will be an error as well, because that means I have the same variable that has the same name to complete the local variable declaration statement. Okay, let's just say my student equals to number 1. So in this case, when it comes to an array, guys, we will have instead of having a quotation mark here, so instead of having the quotation mark here, we have what we call the curly braces here. Okay, the curly braces we take more data together. So number 1 will be blessing. How many? Who's the next student? Let me just say Olaniyi, and then I can also put Jamie. And then I can also put, let me put one more person. I'll put Kudirat. Okay. So, Kudirat. So now, we have an array allows us to have 4 student information inside. Let me run this and I will tell you what the problem is. So now, the only thing we have is the first one. If I want to run the second one, yeah. If I want to do the second one will be, okay, let me put another name because somebody typed a name, Charles. So I'll put Charles here. So guys, I need this answer, and I'll be so happy if somebody can help me. If I want to run this array, what is the variable that I will call? What would I type here? Because what I'm running now is this variable at the top here. If I want to run this array, what would I type? Ibrahim, may God bless you. Thank you so much. Sahid, thank you as well. Thank you, Sahid. Thank you. Olatubosu, well done. So basically, I said that Java is unforgiving language. So because if you see here, yes, Balaon, thank you. Alani, thank you. So it will be my student, no capital S. If I change this to my student, still there will be an error. And I'll tell you why that is. So now, I have my students. And if I print it, let's see what's going to happen. We have a reference. The best student so far is java.language.string. Blah, 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 blah. Why? Because we didn't specify which student we are printing. We only specify this name, the container. So in the Java memory, which you won't see, this is where this information is stored. This is the place where they are stored. However, remember that when you are declaring your array, you use this square bracket. If you want to also call it, you have to use a square bracket at the end of it. So this square bracket here, you will now indicate for you to access every information in the array is called elements. So this blessing is an element. Olani is an element. Jamie is an element. Kudera is an element. Charles is an element. And then for you to access them, you need to call them by their index value. Okay? Index value. What is an index value? Index value in the programming language starts from 0. So which means that if I want to call blessing, I will put 0 inside this square bracket. If I want to call Olani, I will put 1, Jamie 2, Kudirat 3, Charles 4, and so forth and so on. So let's say that I want to print the best student is Blessing. What would I put here in this square bracket? Guys. Yes, thank you, Blessing. Thank you, Shegun. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Latibos. Good. So if I put 0 inside the square bracket and I run it, what's going to happen? The best student so far is Blessing. So let's say I want to put Charles. What would I put then? Thank you very much. God bless you. I like this batch. Trust me. I know what I'm talking about. So these are the logic they use for games. When they ask you to choose from this question, choose one. This is the logic behind it. They already put them in arrays because the limitation of variables is limited. Look at this variable can only take 1 data, but a string took more than 1 data. Okay, you can have 20 data in that string. Okay, if you want to print Kudirat, for example, now all you have to do is say 3. So when you have 3 people that competed together, you can change the best student so far. You can say the winner. In programming, this is exactly how they do it. The winner of the you won't see this code, of course, of the contest is, if I run it, you will see it. The winner of the contest is Kudirat. You will just play your own game. So Said said that, what code do we write to print all of them? Okay, that's the question for the next topic. I will not treat it now. I will put it down. What code to print all? To print all. So what code to print all is under loop. Okay, it's under loop, and I will show you. You have to loop them. You have to loop through all these codes, all these elements, to be able to print all of them, or print a particular one. You can tell the computer to search through. For example, if you are writing a code for an examination website, and one of the students selects Blessing, and then you can write a code that says, please search in my student, or search in number 10 question. Anything that is equal to Olani is a pass. Anything that is not Olani is a fail. So that is what we call about conditional statements or looping. If I put that inside this one now, there will be a bit of a problem. So for now, it is sufficient that you understand that an array is a container of containers, because it allows you to store more data into one variable. Okay, is that clear so far, guys? Good. Thank you. So guys, what happens if I want to print different kind of data? For example, this my student. It's not just human being, God forbid, but as an example, one of my students is also a number. He doesn't want to be identified as a name. My student is number 10 as well. If I put number 10 here, what's going to happen? I'm going to have what we call an error. Type mismatch, cannot convert from int to string. So this array is good, okay? But also, it has its own limitations. How do we overcome that? How do we overcome that is that there's something we call object array. So object array basically is a container that stores different data types, okay? All right, and then it's exactly the same way. So the only difference is that you don't call it string, you don't call it int. This one here, for example, we can create something we call int as well. Int square bracket, okay, my numbers or my lucky numbers. I'm just showing you an example so I can understand better. My lucky numbers. I can say equals to curly braces. My lucky number actually number 7, number 10, number 14, number 25, and number 29. They are my lucky numbers in reality. Okay, so and you can also print the same thing. For example, you can just put a space here, concatenate it with a space, and then concatenate it again, and then you can put my lucky numbers, okay, and then open the curly braces and put number 0. So if I print number 0, yeah, Anthony, hold that thought for 1 second, okay? I'll come back to you now. My lucky numbers, yeah, it has to be correct, okay? So what's going to happen now here, if I print my lucky numbers 0, what am I going to have? I'm going to have 7 after Kudirat, basically, okay? Let me just save you time. So I'm going to have 7 after Kudirat. So the idea is that you can create, what's it called? Thank you, everybody. Thank you for answering. You can create an array that is a string or an array that is int. But what you cannot create an array that can store both int and string together. But object is an array that can store different data types. It can store int, string together. And all you have to do is to say object and then square bracket and then that object has to be a capital letter actually. And then you say my objects. Whatever, you can call it whatever you like, okay? It doesn't matter. It's just a label. That name, the name we give them here, they are labels. They can be called anything. And you will see that tomorrow when we begin to test with Selenium, okay? So what are we going to have inside this object? Give me suggestions. What can we have? Our time is going. In fact, so in this, yes. So basically the idea is that no, Said, yeah, Said is okay, yes. But that's not correct. So in the object, basically the idea of the object is that you can have a number 7, okay? And then the next one will be Sahid. And then the next one will be true. And then the next one will be 10. And then the next one will be thank you. And then the next one will be 1. So the idea is that an object allows you to bring different data types together. Okay? Before, what we did was we create one array that can only take string data type or another array that can take only int. But the object guy is so good that he can throw anything inside that particular container and it will take them. So if I come down here and I say system, wow, our time is gone so much and we haven't done what I want us to do. And I don't want to extend the class to tomorrow. Tomorrow we are learning. Anyway, don't worry. I'll round it up. So we say my objects here. My objects. Okay. And then we can call whatever we like. If I want to call if I want to call true, what would I put there for true? Okay, Jamie is there again. Okay, Jamie Olaniyi, A blessing, not quite right. Oluwasegun, well done. Olaniran, well done. Anthony, well done. Anthony, well done. Bolawan, well done. Thank you, guys. Oyumi, not quite. So basically, remember I said that for this element, for you to assess them, you assess them with index value. You can read up on index value. Index value always start from 0. So this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. So if I put 2 here, and if I run this code, if I put 2 here and I run this code, what we are going to have is we are going to have true. The winner of the contest is Kudirat, and true. Okay, guys. Let me go back to a question that Anthony asked me, and I said, hold that thought. I want to find that question. Is it Anthony? Yes. Hold on, guys. Anthony said, is object a container that stores different data type for same element? Well, I don't know what you mean by same element, but each of these items here in this container are elements. But the idea of object is that it stores different type of data type. It's not limited to storing strings alone, or int alone, or boolean alone, or long alone, or short alone, or byte alone. You can store whatever you like inside an object. As a developer in real life, we do not prefer to use the object rather than using a string, or the only time you want to use a string is when you are looking for data quality. Yeah, and yeah, so that's the answer. So this is all about. This is all we have to learn. There's something we call multi-dimensional array, but trust me, you don't need it. If you need it, I will tell you, and if you ever need it in the class, I will come back to it. Like I said before, when we began the class, I said that some of these concepts we'll be learning them in practice. You know, like when I taught you the variable, I said don't worry. There's something we call the local variable, and there's something we call the class variable. But I haven't shown you that because there's no scenario that is suitable to explain that. Otherwise, I'll be giving you an imaginary figure that can give you a headache. So that is about array. Forget about the multi-dimensional array. So the next thing we are talking about now is the loops. What is a loop, guys? Who have an idea? A loop. They are used to execute a set of statements until a particular condition is met. Basically, that is basically a loop. But continuous statement to set a condition, yes, that's correct. So basically in Java, we have for loop, we have while loop, and we have do while loop. But in most cases, in 99% scenario, you'll be using what we call a for loop. And I will not waste time on that as well. I'll be very quick about it. As you can see, I only have one scenario for it. So for you to have a loop, let's just say, let's come down here and say for loop. I'll put let me put the comment first to explain it to you. For loop, there must be what we called a condition, or a condition, okay, condition, and then there must be what we call well, the first one is a condition as well, but it's a testing condition. What are you testing against? Testing condition. And the second one is sorry guys, my head is overeating now a little bit. The first one is initialization condition. Where are we starting our test from? And then the second one is the testing condition. What are we testing? Which condition are we testing for? And then the last one is the iteration. You can call it iteration, or let's call it increment to make it simpler. Increment or decrement. Okay? Increment or decrement value. And that's it. So, but this big statement, what does it mean in reality? So in reality, I'll say for, if I want to loop something, I'll say for, I have a bracket here. I won't put anything here. For example, I will say, comma. So I didn't put initialization condition. Another comma, I didn't put testing condition. And then the last one, don't need the comma. Okay. So I didn't put any condition so far. And then here, my statement, I'll say system dot out dot println. And let me just say here, let me just say here X. Okay, let me run this and see what's going to happen. Okay, I don't think it will allow me. But basically, this is the format for looping. But the only problem is that I didn't declare any value. So what will happen is that they will continue to run infinitely. But in this case, there's error. So let's just say for int X. So we are declaring a variable here. Int equals to X. Okay. X is, okay, let's see, actually, hold on. I'll explain that to you guys. Let me just work it out. Okay, so like we said here, for you to loop through something, you need to first set an initialization condition. So in this case, we are setting a condition with a loop. So our starting condition is a 10. So we said X is equal to 10. Or let's say that S equals to 1, for example. Okay. X is 1. And then we say X equals to 10. Or less than 10. And then we say S plus plus. Okay. Because if we don't set these conditions, our code will become infinite. I need to see why that is giving us error. Okay, I didn't close brackets. Okay. And this one says what? Okay, x equals 10. Okay, that's fine. Okay, brackets x. So this is what happens with code sometimes. Okay, system dot out. Nope. Okay, let me run this and see what happened. 1 second. Okay, thank you guys. Let me comment out the first one. There's 2 ints. Hold on. There's int here. There's another int here. So I will remove this int. I'll call it my short. Let me call this one short. Okay. So Said, after the loop bracket for x goes to 1, x minus x plus plus on that. Nope. Give me 1 sec, guys. Okay. One of them should not have this. Okay. Alright. Anyway, this is the for loop. I'm going to comment that out in a minute and see why I have that error. Now our time is going. That's the annoying thing. Let me lay my hand upon her. Let me create an entirely new class. So I will go to new and I'll call this a class and I'll call this loops. Let's see. It might be interfering with those codes earlier on. And then I will copy the loop session. I'll cut it out. And I'll bring that here. No. So when you start to work, sometimes you come across this. But as long as you know what you're doing, you'll be fine. So this is a class bracket. This is a method bracket. So we're missing one bracket. So for loops, for short, I will use for int s equals to 1, and then s equals to, no, I won't use equal, I'll use less than 10. Okay, s plus plus system.out. So this is the initialization condition, and this is the testing condition, and the decreasing or the increasing value, and they want to print out the x. But why is it not printing? Who can guess? Because I find out what's wrong with it now. Who has an idea? Somebody said semicolon is missing. Is that true? So basically, we don't need a semicolon here at all. What we've done is that we have equal this value. We don't need to. This one should start from 0, maybe. And then this one here. Actually, there's nothing wrong with this thing. It's perfectly perfect. Zero, and then int 0, 10, I plus plus. Okay, guys, thank you. Alright, thank you. So this is not meant to be a comma, it's meant to be a semicolon. That's the whole problem. Well, we are there finally. So instead of a comma, Sahid actually, yeah, thanks for trying, but Sahid got it right. It's not meant to be a comma. A comma is for the variables in the element. But when you are doing a loop or a for statement, okay, we use a semicolon. So what am I saying here is that I'm saying that, okay, for our int is 0, so which is the initializing condition. And what we are testing is that we want our code to run from 0 to less than 10 or equals to 10. We can put the equal sign as well, okay? And then the way we want it to increase, we want it to increase by 1 value every time it runs. In every loop, increase by 1. So if I run this one, let me just give you an example. It runs from, on the screen you can see, within 1 second, even 1 millisecond. It runs from 0, which is our initialization condition, and then it runs 1 to 10. Why does it run 1 to 10? Because we said it should increase by 1 every time. If we say s plus 2, for example, or s equals to x plus 1. So basically, we are saying the same thing with plus plus. But if I say plus 2, what's going to happen is that it's going to omit 1 each. It's going to start from 0, from 2, from 4, from 6, from 8 to that. Okay? And Sahid asked me a question before. Let me go back to that question now. Because I said that I'm going to keep that question for later. So if you want to print all the, but I think that applies to string, for example. Okay. The array, look at the array we have here. The string, my student, and Charles. If I want to print all of that at the same time, let's say I have it here. Okay. So what I will then do, I will say, let me comment this out. This very line. What I will do is I will say for, okay, and inside my for statement, I will say string students, and I will use a semicolon here, and I will say my students. So that my students, I'm referring to my student at the top. Okay, this is my student here. I'm referring to that. And then I will come down here and say system, instead of printing X that I used before, I will now say print students. Okay. The way I spell it, because that's even wrong spelling, but it has to be the way I spelled it. So if I run that, you should be able to print all the names. So it's saying there's an error. Okay, let me see why there's an error. There's 2 columns here. Okay, I'll take one out. And then let me run it now. So all the names are printed at once. Blessing, Olani, Jamie, Kudrat. Okay. As you can see. So with a loop statement, you can print every data from your array. Okay. So like I said before we start this particular topic, I said that in most cases, 99% of cases, we use this for loop, and you will see that in action tomorrow, because there's something that we call libraries in automation testing. Libraries are where you store reusable codes, something that you have to use again and again. So tomorrow when we finish our WebDriver and we want to create some libraries, we will see for loops and then and then conditional statement in action. So I will ignore the while and then do while loops because they are the same thing essentially. The only difference is that in the in the for loop, so you declare the the conditional statement, the initialization statement first, and then the conditional statement, and then the incrementer and the decrement values. But in the while loop, you will declare the condition separately at the top, and then after that you will declare the testing condition separately in another semicolon, and then the statement. So basically, instead of putting them in one line, you are putting them in 3 lines for the while loop. However, the do while loop is different. The do while loop, you set the condition at the top, and then you run the code, and then you put the exiting condition at the bottom. But trust me, from my experience, it is very, very rarely used. And if we need to use it, we will. Sahid, because Sahid is asking that for the student, we haven't put the plus plus. The reason is because we want to print all of it. We are not. This is a string type. It's not like the numbers where you can increase the value. You cannot increase the number of students from heaven. You can't just begin to manufacture the name of students. What we are trying to do, we are trying to print them at the same time. What you can do with the string is very different from what you can do with the numbers. With the string, you can print them all, or you can print the length of blessing. If blessing is 10 numbers, 10 letters or 20 letters, you don't need to put incremental. If you put incremental value, in this situation, you will get an error. Okay? So that is that about loops. Okay? And then, let me go to the slide and see what we need to learn before we finish. Our time is fast spent. I'm sorry for the little, hook up there. Sometimes it happens at work. You waste time a lot on a particular line of code. But in the end, based on experience and troubleshooting, you will come to the solution. So the important thing is that we are able to solve that situation. So there's something that we call control statement, control flow statement. Okay. So what's a control flow statement? So basically, if you need to execute something on logic, okay, based on logic, which tomorrow 100% we need that. You will see that in action tomorrow. But I will do it tonight as well, even if we have to stay 5 or 10 minutes late. So for example, if a number is greater than 0, then we want to print positive number. But let me not even use an example. Let me just tell you that we have if statement, we have if else statement, we have nested if, and we have if else if, and we have switch case, we have jump, we have break statement. However, for the purpose of tester, remember that our whole topic from the very beginning is understanding Java, automating software test with Selenium. And then we said that we want to understand the essentials of software for software tester, not for developing purposes. So because of that, you don't need to know, as a matter of fact, you don't need to know all the kind of control flow statements. But the most important one that you need to know is the if statement and the else if statement. And I'm going to show you that quickly. So before we go ahead, so I will create another class, or let me just create another class so that we don't have the same situation. And I'll call this one statements. Okay, statements. And then what do I mean by that? For example, I'm going to declare, okay, let me just copy, okay, let me just copy, let me copy this string here to make it faster. So I know that you understand what that means. This string is an array. This variable is an array. So, but then we want to use it here. So we want to say something like if, okay, okay, what should I do there? Actually, let me declare something different. Okay, what should I do? I want a good example that will make more sense. Okay, let's use this. Let's say, let's remove I just want a simple scenario, and when you can develop it. If my students equals to, let's see that, blessing, system dot print dot out dot print line. Okay, guys. So let's see this scenario. So basically, we declare a variable. We pretend that this is an exam question. So you as the examiner, you know that the answer is my student is equal to blessing, right? But the student is that is typing it doesn't know the correct answer. They're just guessing. So if you say if my student is equal to blessing, equals means that exactly equal to, then print that is correct. Let's see this down. So On the screen, you can see that is correct, yeah? But if I remove blessing, if I remove G from that, and I print it, what's going to happen? There's no answer. Because, remember the topic is control flow statements. We are controlling what will happen, but we haven't controlled what will happen if the answer is incorrect. If the answer is incorrect, so what we should have is we should say else. We should have an else statement saying, you know, system dot out dot print line, and we'll say that is wrong. You know, that is wrong. Try again. You know. So if I run this code of line, so what happens is that because the student we are putting the answer is not blessing that is here. If I run it, it will say, okay, oh, that is wrong. Try again. However, if I put the correct G and I run it, it will say that is correct. And if I put something else and say, okay, what's it called? Let me just say Sahid. If I put Sahid, I have another option. I will now put something we call else if. I'll come here, okay, I will say else if what's it called? My student equals Sahid. If my student is equal to Sahid, please system dot out. System wants to start with capital letter, otherwise dot out dot print line. Okay, and I'll put that there. I will say that is also correct. So basically, when you are playing a game or you are trying to play some quiz, you can see how this works. So if I run this one now, that is also correct. So if I come here into my variable and I put no, what's going to print out? Somebody can tell me, please. If I put no here, what do we have on the screen? Yes, thank you, Olani. Exactly, thank you, Joshua. So because in the logic, in the control flow, yes, thank you, Said. In the control flow, there is no option. There's no option for no. Everything that is not blessing, that is not Sahid, okay, will be what? Will be that's not Sahid or no, will be wrong. So if I run it, you should say, well, okay, because I put no, sorry, you say we put it in the wrong place. I'm meant to put no here and blessing here, okay? I'm meant to change the variable. So everything that is not blessing or Sahid should say that is wrong. Try again. Okay? If I put blessing here, so for example, you are playing the game, you're asking you the question, and you put blessing, it will say that is correct. Or in the question, you also select Sahid. Alright, it will say that is also correct. Or you say, if you now put Sahid, it will say that is wrong. Okay? Or it can be a game even. It can be a game. So the game can say, choose your lucky number. And then you choose 1. And we say that is, you are a winner. If you choose 2, you say you are a winner. But if it's a game, we have to change the format. For example, we'll come here and say, we'll say int. Okay? And then when we say int, so we say that the answer should be 10. Okay? And then if you come here and say my student number is 10, and that is correct. Well, as an option, if you also say that my student number is 11. I allow you. But if you choose anything else, you are wrong. So if you run 10 now, that is correct. If you come here, I will change to 11 and then we'll run it. We'll say that is also correct. But if you mistakenly choose 9, it will tell you that you are wrong because there's no option, there's no if it's equal to 9, there's no else if it's equal to 11. If I create another else if and say if it's equal to 11, 9 too is also correct. So that's how control flow statements work. Control flow statements, they are logical statements that that will happen, depending on the action you take, depending on the logic that you wrote. I hope that is clear enough for us guys. Okay, so we have some few other important topics, okay, that we need to learn, which maybe I'm going to beg you for 10 minutes. Because tomorrow I want us to go to the I can explain some, but some I have to demonstrate them. So for example, what is a class in Java? Can anybody tell me what is a class in Java? When you hear class in Java, what do you understand? Remember that every time that I've created 4 codes tonight, 4 different programs tonight. So, and each of them are classes on their own. Okay? Each of them are classes on their own. So what do you think is a class in Java? Are you tired, guys? Are you tired? Can you still hear me? Okay, Saeed is feeling strong. Okay. Well, Jamie say some say they are tired, some say they are not. Okay, what I will do? Okay, I will let me see what class, objects, method, constructor. We have quite a few stuff to cover. The reason is because these explanations, they are very deep and they are very, very exemplary. That is why we are behind. Like I said to you at the beginning yesterday, you can even learn Java for 1 year, depending on what you want to achieve. If you want to become a developer, definitely. Some people go to university just to study, Java and C# only. Trust me, for 3 years before they can use it to develop. So this one we are learning is just the basics. The learning itself is lifelong. It never stops. Okay. So what am I saying, guys? Is that we need to quickly rush over. Give me some few minutes. Let me rush over class, and I will check that if it's okay with everybody, because I get a misreaction from the audience, and the misreaction is that some people say that they are tired, some say that they are not. But based on your response, I will decide. So let me go to, every time we create a new program here in Java, we are actually creating a class. So if I say new, if you see, from the new, we have the option of Java project, we have project, we have package, we have source folder, interface. Why am I choosing class? Because Java creates its program in class, and I'll call it class. I don't know if you accept it. So I'll call it class, okay? So now, what is a class? In the plain language and layman, okay, Jamie. In the layman term, a class is a template or a blueprint. And let me break that down. If you want to build your house, for those of us who come from a lawful country, and people will understand what I mean. So if you want to build your house in Nigeria, it doesn't matter. You can buy the land and start building. But in this country, you need to have a plan that will be approved, by the government. I don't say that they're not approving it in Nigeria too, but in some areas, you can go ahead without a plan. So a class in Java is a template or a blueprint from which every method, every object is created. Remember that we said something about Java. We said that Java is an object-oriented programming language. And what does that mean? In real world, okay? Let me skip to that. In real world, everything is an object. Me, Shagun, I'm an object. You, Jamie, you are an object. Sahid, you are an object. What do I mean by an object? All of us are an object that belongs to a class. Me and you, we are an object of a human being. We belong to the class of human being. And that human being, if you like, you can call it a superclass. There's something that also called a subclass. So every human being also can be a male or a female, isn't it? Every human being can have a race. Every human being can have a look. So basically, when you heard about the class of a human being, what do you expect from that class? You expect something that looks like a human, something that has a body, something that has a head, something that has a nose. So, for example, in a real world object, object has a behavior and they have an attribute. But let me break that down because I don't like those definitions. The definitions are too vague and sometimes they can be confusing and can be too big to understand. So what am I saying? This is a class, and this class here is an empty template. It has nothing. I just call it class. Class of what? I will call it a class of a tester. Okay? Let's pretend that this class is for testers. Alright? So it's vague, but in this class of a tester, we want to have what I defined here as a state and behavior. An object is a software bundle of a related state and behavior. For example, in the class of an animal, there's a dog, isn't it? So if I choose a dog from the class of an animal, what is the state of a dog? The state of a dog can be his name, can be Bruno. But what is the behavior of Bruno? Bruno can bark, Bruno can eat, Bruno can dance, Bruno can be sleeping. Okay? So how do I relate this in real life? So in this our code, we are creating a class of a tester. So as testers, what do you think testers will have in common? So I will create something I will call static string, because you understand that static string name. Okay, static string age. I will leave that for now. Okay, guys. So these here are variables. If you remember, they are variables that if you want to declare a variable, you declare the data type and then the name of the variable and you give the value. Normally you will say name equals to Charles, for example. Okay, but because we are creating a class, not a method, if we put Charles in our class, we have limited that class, the whole class, to Charles alone. But what we are trying to do is that we are saying that this class that we are creating, we have name and we have age. But how do we now assign a particular object? How do we create a particular object from this class? We use the keyword new. So what we do is I will come down here and we will say the name of the class. For example, we'll say class class, and we'll say, let's say class 1 equals to new what? Equals to new class. I know that this is different for you, and I'll try to break it down. This concept is difficult a little bit to explain. So what am I doing here is that the class itself from here to here is a template, and me, because it's a class, it's not referring to anybody. When I say the class of human, I'm not referring to Jamie, I'm not referring to Sahid. When I say the class of human, I'm referring to millions of people. But in testing or in Java programming language, you create a particular object according to the definition, according to the way the class is being designed. And the reason why we explain this concept to you is because tomorrow, by the grace of God, we will be going into our Selenium WebDriver. And remember that Selenium WebDriver, you didn't create it. We are just going to use it. We are borrowing it from the people that created it. And the way we use it is according to how it is created. For example, this class that we just created now only has two functionality. It has a name and it has what we call age. So if I want to create my own object from this class according to this class template, what can I create from it? I will say class, and I'll call it class 1. And I'll tell you this class 1 is just a label. If you like, don't call it class 1. You can call it object if you want to, or call it my creation, or whatever you want to call it. Okay? And then what do? You will now create this particular creation and say creation. Okay, creation dot. When you click dot, it will show you the things that you can create from that class. So there are two things only. Forget about the green icons. Those ones are pre-generated by Java. But the ones that belong to us is as a string and a kind of a triangle. So we have this age that we created here, this name that we created here. So let me give you an example that will make more sense to you. So I want to create something from this template, and me, I don't want to create name. I don't want to create age. I decide to create experience. What will happen? You think I will be able to create? If I say creation.experience equals to manual tester, what happens is that I will get an error. Okay, it's not going to work. But if I come up here and say creation dot name equals to Sahid, so that will be fine. Okay, that will be fine. Why? Because the template of the class allows us to create a name for every object that belongs to this class. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys at all. Remember that I said that a class is a template. A class is a blueprint from which every object is created. Tomorrow, when you begin to test with Selenium WebDriver, you cannot test according to your wish. You cannot test according to your desire. You will test according to the way the class of Selenium WebDriver has been designed. If you try to use any functionality that is not predefined, it will not work for you. You can only do things that has been allowed inside the template of the class of Selenium WebDriver. So, because me and you created a template that allows us to create a name for this class, that allows us to create age. Anytime we create a name, it will be okay. Anytime we create an age, it will be okay. If I go down here and I say creation, okay, dot age, it will not even ask me a question. Okay, it will just accept it. Although the age should be int because we want numbers for our age. So equals to, let's just say Said is 30. You don't need to tell me your age. I'm just saying an example. It will allow us, but because this template does not allow us to create experience, it becomes a problem. So how do we fix it for our own scenario? All we have to do is to come here again and say, static dot string and dot just string, and I will give it a name. We'll call it experience. So when we call it experience, okay, what happened is that the error here disappeared, because what we have done now is that we have modified our class to allow us to create experience. Okay, guys, and I know that maybe it's a lot of information that I'm passing down, but if you are creating an object, okay, that object must be created according to the templates. You cannot just introduce anything you want, or you can only use the definition of that particular class. So if you want to print these things out, for example, all you need to do is to say system dot out dot print line, and then you can say, what's it called, creation. Okay, let's try creation and see what happens. Or the creation dot h. What's going to happen if you create that? If you print that, you will have 30 on the screen. Okay, so also if you create creation dot name, you have Sahid. Creation dot experience, you have manual tester. You can now begin to create more objects. You can say class dot creation 2. Okay, creation 2, and then equals to, every time you are creating a new object from a class, you have to use the keyword new. Okay, and you say class, and then what you do then is that you say creation 2. You now give it value creation 2 now, because when I say tester, when I say class of a human being, I'm not referring to anybody. Class of class doesn't refer to anybody until you begin to create an object. So everything you are creating from that class is now a particular object, and that is why we say that in real life everything is an object. In Java, everything is an object, but those objects you can create them from the class definition. You can say creation 2 now, dot age, dot name, and then this creation 2, we'll now call this one Oluwasegun, for example. So the idea is that you create only from the template. The class is a template, is a master plan, and then everything you create from the class are individual objects. You cannot introduce anything new. If I say creation 2 now, and say creation 2 dot tools, you're trying to say that object has a tools. It will give you an error. Why? Because that template does not allow us to use tools. It does not expect these people to have tools. So that is the basic meaning of a class and object. So let me go back to the definition and iron it out and say a class is a blueprint, or if you like, template from which individual objects are created. It declares and defines what parameter that object will accept when you create them. Constructor, I will not mention constructor tonight, because if I teach you class and constructor, I'm creating problem. So to declare a class, you have to say maybe they are public or private, like we've seen here at the top. Is a public one, okay, and then you declare maybe the name, which is just class in this scenario, and then you declare the it's by capital letter. Every class name must start from capital letter, okay, which is, as you can see, class start from capital letter. And then there's a super class. Like I said, in the class of human being, you can say human being is a super class, and then you can now have what we call class of males, class of females, class of singles, class of married. Those ones will be subclasses, okay? And you can create an instance by using the keyword new. So the instance of this class is created when we use the keyword new. We are going to be using that tomorrow a lot in our Java, in our Selenium classes. So I know that this is a lot. I know that it's a bit, but you appreciate it because the way I've put it is very, very simple. This is always a difficult class, okay? So it's a difficult concept. That's why I didn't teach you from the beginning. I need to teach you some code first. But bear in mind that every time we created tester here, for example, we have created a class. However, this class does not accept any parameter. There's no data for this class. This one too, there's no data. Every data we have seen here, all these variables we created, they are inside the method. They are not the class level. So for example, again, let me give you another example. In this class, and all this name, age, this is what we call global variables. They don't belong to this particular method, but I will continue on that notion tomorrow. So like I said before, I said an object is a software bundle of related state and behavior. So far, what we have done is we have reflected on the behavior of this class, their name, their age, their state, their name, because the state is fixed, their age, and their experience. But we haven't done anything about their behavior, what they are doing. Maybe Sahid is testing, maybe Sahid is sleeping, maybe Saeed is retired, maybe Saeed is strong. We haven't done that. How do we do that? We do that through method, and I will discuss that tomorrow briefly, because it's a lot that we have done today in terms of Java coding. So this is an example. In your slide, go back to your slide and read this slide. I've given an example using the mobile phone. The state is the make, the model, the IME, they are fixed. But the behavior is, maybe they are powered on. Yes, you can, Ibrahim, you can export public class to class. As you will see tomorrow, when we begin to use Selenium. So that code, that's Selenium that we are downloading. Why are we downloading it? It's because we don't have them in our project. So every time we want to use them, we have to import them into our project. You will see it tomorrow in action. So I really thought that we can finish this class tonight, but this is 22 past, and from my experience, me, I don't mind. But from my experience, I know that the more I press you guys, the less you learn. Trust me. Maybe some of you can stand it, but everybody cannot stand it. Already, to some people, I'm speaking Spanish. Some people Spain, Chinese. But what I'm going to do, so go through the slide and read it, and then the important point that I'm going to end on tonight is that this object that we created now, this object, this Saeed is an object now. He expresses, he stores his state in a variable. Okay, the state of an object is stored in variables like string name, int age, string experience. However, the behavior is exposed through method, and the method is what we are going to do tomorrow quickly before we continue. Okay, method operates on an object internal state and serve as a primary mechanism for object-to-object communication. We'll read that tonight and or tomorrow, and I'll continue. I will discuss method quickly. I will skip constructor until we need it in the 4th or 5th class, and then inheritance is just straightforward concept. I don't need to demonstrate it at all. Polymorphism also, data inclusion and annotations. We'll talk about this in 5 minutes. So tomorrow our main discussion will be the method, and then tomorrow we'll start from exactly here tomorrow. Okay, and then we'll go into our Selenium tomorrow. By the end of tomorrow, we'll be able to code and begin to test using Java and Selenium WebDriver. It is what it is, okay, guys. If the time we have been given is not enough, as we know that we have not been playing, we've been learning a lot. We will ask Steve for more days after your class, if you don't mind, okay? Unless you don't want to learn more. So, on this note, I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to allow you guys to go and rest. Some of you will still want to watch this video tonight, and some of you still have to work. Some of you have family to attend to. I will say thank you for your attention. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your effort. And I would like to also note that those of you who have requested for help, you have not been ignored, but it is not viable now to provide one-on-one help. So, Olani, I'm still going to provide help for you. Solomon, I'm going to provide help for you. Christiana, I'm going to provide help for you, but it's not going to be tonight. But I've noted your name on the list of those that I need to consult one-on-one. Okay, after our entire project. So those of us who have installed our software, go on and practice all these things that we've done tonight, so that you can ask me questions tomorrow. Those of us who haven't, try again, watch the video from yesterday, and see what I've explained. Maybe you missed one point or the other, and try again. If it's the same thing, let me know tomorrow. So guys, I'm going to say good night to you. If you're happy with the lecture, please type in good night to me as well. And I know that we can move on, you know, in one voice. Okay? Are we there? Okay. Thank you guys. Good night, everybody. If I can't read the comments, I will go through them tonight, and I will find a way to, okay. Thanks. Yes, versions are different. So check the video from yesterday. I've specified. Okay, let me see if I can drag and drop this here. I don't know. What's it called? Day one yesterday. Software that don't leak. I don't know if I can do that. No, nope. It won't allow me to drag and drop it. Okay, I'm going to tell WJ to send it again. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Have a wonderful night rest. Thank you. Bye bye for now.